We have completed week 2 of the 2025 NFL season. Let me tell you, we witnessed some of the craziest game endings we have seen in a very long time, including yet another Game of the Year candidate. We've had 2 weeks and 2 Game of the Year candidates already. It was absolute cinema, and we are here to break down that game and the rest of the 16-game slate here on VinCon Sports Talk, episode 57. Vinny Martin, Connor Swanson here with you again. And before we start today's episode, if you enjoyed it, please make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and hit that subscribe button on YouTube and Spotify. So, Connor, Cowboys-Giants. Crazy game, and a few other crazy games too. Week 2 was very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean a ton of good games. That red zone, they hurt us when we said only 44 touchdowns a week ago. They hurt us. They turned things around, and all the teams made it much more exciting to watch on Sunday this week. So
yeah.
Excited to talk about it, Vinny. I mean, a ton of good games, as you mentioned. And I think, why don't we just get into it? What do you say?
Let's get into it. A lot more offense this week. We were definitely happy to see that. A lot more touchdowns and just a lot more interesting storylines in general. So, the game of the week, without question, Cowboys and Giants. Why don't you break us down what happened in that game?
Yeah, I mean, man, was this game. This game was utterly ridiculous, all right? The amount of times I thought a team had won the game, and then the other team scored, and then I thought they won the game, then the other team scored. It was back and forth especially that fourth quarter was absolutely insane. In this game, Vinny, there were over 900 total yards of offense, an insane number. The Cowboys end up pulling this one out 40-37 in overtime, Vinny. I know for any of you guys who do Survivor picks, Vinny had the Cowboys, so he was sweating that one a little bit.
Yep.
But a very good game. Dak Prescott, 38 of 52, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Javonte Williams, 18 carries, 97 yards, a touchdown, 33 receiving yards as well. So he's really been the true bell cow in that offense, which is not necessarily what we thought we were going to see coming into the season. We thought we might see some more Miles Sanders, some more Jaden Blue when he was healthy. But it's really been the Javonte show, and he's looked great in that
really
role.
Good.
So I don't see why they would go away from it. CeeDee Lamb, 9 catches for 112 yards. Did have a couple more drops this week, so
yeah.
Nothing as bad as what we saw last week. But, I mean, still, he's dropping the ball more than we expect from him. Jake Ferguson had a good day, 9 catches for 78 yards. And then George Pickens, 5 for 68 and a touchdown. So his first touchdown with the Dallas Cowboys. On the Giants side of things, a very good game, all things considered. You get the loss, but Russell Wilson throws for 450 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, right, on 41 attempts, throws 1 pick as well. Cam Skattebo, he leads the team in targets. So no more Tyrone Tracy, apparently. Cam Skattebo had 11 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Tracy only had 5 carries. So that's a big discrepancy there when we're talking about the overall game script here. Obviously, you didn't run the ball a ton, but still, a 6-carry difference is very notable. And then the 2 receivers for the Giants, they did everything. Malik Neighbors had 9 catches for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Wan'Dale Robinson had 8 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown. Now, Vinny, we got to talk about this fourth quarter a little bit because there were a couple times when, I thought the game was sealed. And then, boom, a huge play, right? Whether it was Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, it just seemed like whenever the Giants needed something, they could get it easily, right? They chucked the ball down the field 60 yards. Malik Neighbors is there. Chuck the ball down the field 60 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson is there. And, I mean, 2 of those plays really kept them alive in this game, and it forced the Cowboys to go back to work and try to get back ahead. And where it ended up being, the Cowboys were the ones on the back foot right as time was getting close to expiring. So why don't you take us through what your thoughts were there in that fourth quarter?
I mean, it was an absolute roller coaster watching this game. Obviously, Russell Wilson last week, the Giants fans were calling for his head. They were like, he's done. We want Jackson Dart. Get Russell Wilson out of here. Russell Wilson is by no means in his prime, but he's still a very serviceable quarterback, and he showed that. And he's
100%.
One of the best deep ball quarterbacks in the NFL that we've really ever seen. He showed that off against the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys secondary just looked atrocious. I mean, we have guys that have name value, like Diggs, like Kyer Elam, my guy Kyer Elam, he got burnt a couple of times. I don't know what was going on with the Cowboys secondary, giving up those giant plays to Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, we talked about it. You, as a defense, should know what the Giants' game plan is going to be. They're going to throw the ball to number 1, and that's all they're going to do. That's what they did last year, and that's what they're going to do this year. Malik Neighbors is the offense, so I don't know how they didn't have a better game plan. But with that being said, the Giants on the defensive side, really collapsed towards the end of the game here.
Yep.
They did not, I don't have an exact number, but they did not have a lot of time left on the clock to win this game. They just needed to get a couple stops, and they couldn't do it. And Brandon Aubrey, shout out Brandon Aubrey, just casually hits a 64-yarder to send the game to overtime. And the Cowboys were extremely confident, too, that he was going to be able to do that. They didn't try to get any more yards for him.
They just ran the ball and fell down, right in the center of the field for him.
You know, they know that he has the best leg in football. They know that. So he goes out there, 64-yarder, hits it, and then hits another one, 46-yarder for the win in overtime. So shout out Brandon Aubrey.
The crazy thing is we saw each team touch the ball twice in overtime.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is unheard of. Obviously, now the rule being a little bit different where each team gets the ball, but still, normally you'd expect, okay, we're going to see either a field goal or a touchdown by the first team, or if they don't score, the other team's going to go down and kick a field goal to win. Right? Or and we didn't see that. Who got it? I can't remember who got it first, but either way, someone got it first. They did nothing. They had to punt. Other team got it. They had to punt. Back to the first team. They had to punt. Or an interception, I think. Russ might have thrown an interception.
Yeah,
and then,
Russ threw a pick.
And then Cowboys go down the field, get into field goal range, and boom, Brandon Aubrey does what Brandon Aubrey does, and he just hits his field goal. So a crazy game overall. Honestly, did Russ silence the Jackson Dart haters with this one, or the Jackson Dart enthusiasts with this game, or do you think since it's still a loss, they're still going to be calling for Russ's head?
The guy threw 450 yards. I mean, they put up 37 points. The Giants haven't put up a game like this in a very long time. So, unfortunately for Giants fans, or fortunately, I think Russell Wilson is your quarterback for
he's here to stay for the
majority of the season. No. I think.
And last thing, real quick, defensively for the Giants, that's probably your bigger concern right now.
100%.
Right? I mean, I know Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, yes, but you're hyping yourself up as being one of the best defenses in the NFL, and you go out and give up 40 points.
No one should be running for 100 yards on this team. If your name's not Saquon, Derrick Henry, one of those guys, Javonte Williams should not be running for 100 yards on this team.
No.
But, no disrespect to him. It was just a shootout. I mean, the whole game plans got thrown out the window here because it was just such a bizarre game in Dallas. The Cowboys are always in these weird ones, man. They're always in these just weird games that just, so strange. But I'm glad the Cowboys won. Obviously, we're big Giants haters here. That would have been a crazy win for the Giants. They face the Chiefs next week, who aren't looking too good on Sunday Night Football. We'll talk more about that later. But anyway, we both do take the Cowboys there. We both do get it right. So we are going to move on to a Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City. Speaking of the Chiefs, and what a disappointing game this was, Connor. The Eagles go in. They win this one 20-17. And we mentioned the Super Bowl rematch, Eagles and Chiefs, and there was just no offense to be found in this game.
None.
None to be found. Jalen Hurts, 15 for 22, 101 yards. Okay. And unfortunately, this is what you come to expect from Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense, in most games. And it's not even like Saquon had this insane game. He had a good game, 88 yards and a touchdown on the ground, 22 attempts. So that's a good game. But it wasn't like he completely took over. Jalen Hurts did what he had to do. You give the ball to A.J. Brown 5 times, which is good. He only had 27 yards. It was just a whole bunch of nothing. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he couldn't get 200 yards in this one. He had 187. He had a touchdown and a pick. He also leads the team in rushing again for the second straight week, which is extremely concerning if you're the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, I don't know what happened there. They get 31 and 22 yards respectively, so nothing going on the ground. And then Travis Kelce, again, 4 for 61. So a good game, not a great game. The Chiefs just look pretty bad right now. Eagles didn't look great either. No one really looked great. The defenses look good. But, I mean, did you see Jalen Carter talking trash at the end of the game? And then, Chris, no, not Jalen Carter. Was it Chris Jones talking trash?
Yeah, and then they said something look at or you're losing, right? Something about that.
Yeah, well, Chris Jones said to Jalen Hurts that he only threw 100 yards or whatever. But, talking trash, kneeling on the defensive side is pretty crazy.
You're going to lose the game. It's
yeah.
Right.
So, no Xavier Worthy again. Hollywood Brown didn't do much in this game. What's the deal with Kansas City? They're 0-2. We haven't seen that before. How concerned are you? We're going to bust out the VinCon concern meter again. And
Okay.
for you guys who missed it, what's your concern level for the Chiefs as of now?
I'm not very concerned. I'll give it a 3, right? Like,
Okay.
sure, they're 0-2, but at the end of the day, right, week 1 hurts. Okay, loss to the Chargers hurts, but you are without your two best weapons your two best wide receivers on offense for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And clearly the Chargers are going to be a good team this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really as bad of a loss. And the Eagles, you're projected to lose this game. So you lose 2 games that, a lot of teams will lose to. And I know you're the Chiefs and you're supposed to be a little bit better than everyone else, but you're down your 2 best wide receivers, right? I don't take anything away from these games. I think you add back Xavier Worthy into the lineup next week, and when Rashee Rice comes back week 6, this is going to look just like the same Kansas City Chiefs we've been used to seeing. I mean, Vinny, I don't know about you, but if this team has Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice in this exact game, they beat the Eagles in this game because the Chiefs' defense was all over the Eagles.
Yeah.
And if the Chiefs had any weapons on offense, I think they would have been able to move the ball much better. So
They should have. Yeah.
It's unfortunate you don't have your 2 guys, but that's how the situation unfolded. They'll get those guys back at some point in the season, and I think they're going to be okay.
I think they'll be fine, but are they going to be division champs though? That's the question I have. The Chargers are already 2-0.
I know, and the Chargers are looking very good right now. So I think at the start of the season, before I was more worried about the Broncos. I think right now I'm a little more worried about the Chargers being that team that could go out there and win the division instead of the Chiefs. So,
Yeah.
But again, we're 2 weeks in,
Very
long
early.
season ahead of us. It wouldn't be very surprising at all to see the Chiefs come back and win the division. So
Yeah. So Chiefs fall to 0-2. Eagles are 2-0. They win this one, and they use the same formula that they tend to use in most of their wins. They run the football. They play good defense. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do much. So if you're Philly, I'm not taking much away from this game either because this is just how they win football games. So they did it how they know how to do. They moved to 2-0, and we will move on to a much more entertaining and weird game here.
and for you, Vinny, it was
extremely
very
frustrating.
Frustrating. That's the word.
Extremely frustrating. And that's going to be the Broncos and the Colts. Okay. The Colts win this one 29-28 in just ridiculous fashion. So let me break it down for you. It was a back and forth game the whole game, pretty much. Both offenses looked decent. Daniel Jones, again, looked phenomenal.
Yep.
316 yards, a touchdown, 23 for 34. This is against the Broncos, okay? This is
The best
not against the
defense.
Dolphins. This is against the Denver Broncos, okay? Jonathan Taylor, 165 yards rushing. We know he's capable of having games like that. He's done it so many times. Just an absolute workhorse back, one of the best in the league. It comes down to the last play of the game, right? The Broncos, they have the lead. What was it? 26-28? So
28-26. Yeah, they were up by 2.
28-26. I know people get mad when you say that in the wrong order. 28-26. I know you do. The Colts, Spencer Schrader, lines up for a 60-yarder. Misses. Game over.
Terrible
right?
miss, by the way.
Really
Not even
bad.
close.
And, Brandon Aubrey, you send Brandon Aubrey out there, he's making that. Spencer Schrader, no disrespect to the guy, you don't have faith that he's going to make that. And the Colts, again, they were not trying to get a lot more yards.
No,
at the
they
end of the
settled
game,
for
too.
that. They could have
settled.
gotten closer. They settled.
So, second time we saw kind of that strategy, but what we didn't see was a penalty by the Broncos.
Leverage. I hate that
Leverage.
penalty so much.
15-yard penalty. It's a chunk, so it becomes a
Big
45-yarder.
boy right there.
Gets the second chance, he hits it, and the Colts win. So,
And the records were already on the screen saying
The
2-0 Broncos and 1-1 Colts as he kicked the field goal.
as he kicked it. Yeah. So, yeah, really a tough way to lose for the Broncos. Like, one of the worst possible ways you could lose a football game. It's just a stupid mistake like that, especially on special teams. Denver, it was a weird one for them on offense. Bo Nix didn't have a bad game. Threw 3 touchdowns, only 206 yards. His main receiver was a guy by the name of Troy Franklin, former Oregon Duck. I know you're
Oregon
a big
Duck
fan of his.
connection. Yep.
8 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, who I'm going to try not to get fired up because, by the way, this was an awful week for fantasy football for me. So I just had a miserable time watching football this weekend. Cortland Sutton, 1 catch for 6 yards. He had so many targets. He had a ton of red zone targets. Bo Nix just could not competently throw a football to him today. So very frustrating for me personally, but also for the Broncos in general, not getting your number one receiver involved. I mean, if you're Denver, it's a tough way to lose. They should have won. But I think the real story is, I know last week we didn't give the Colts enough credit after the Dolphins win.
Yeah.
Are the Colts real? Are they legit? Are they here?
I think they are. I think they're going to be a team that can actually not. I'm not saying this team's contending for an AFC championship, right? But I'm saying this team is going to be relevant this year. They're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a tough win. But again, you think back to last year with the New Orleans Saints. We were talking about it a couple days ago, Vinny. The Saints started 2-0. We said they were the best. They were one of the best teams in the league, right? They had a crazy offensive start, and then everything went downhill. So that could easily happen to the Colts. But when you play the Broncos the way you did, I mean, what defense is gonna stop you?
Yeah, that's a good point. Daniel Jones looks legit, and hey, they're 2-0. The Jags are 1-1, and the Texans and Titans are 0-2. So they got a good lead on that division very early on. We'll see. Maybe they could mess around and win it. But anyway, Connor, let's go to the rest of the games now. You're going to have to take me back in time here to 5 days ago now?
5 days ago.
Thursday Night Football, but I know it still lives in your brain. Probably been falling asleep to it every night.
It's still very fresh in my brain, Vinny. Thursday Night Football, a very good game. One of the best Thursday Night Football games we're going to have to start this year, with team-wise at least. But Commanders and the Packers, both 1-0 going into this game. At Lambeau, a beautiful night. It was like 60 degrees, perfect at Lambeau. You don't get that a lot. And the Packers just went out there, and they just dominated. They just dominated the Commanders. And that's really what it was. The score ended up being a little closer than it should have been. It was 27-18 as the final score. Packers win. But if anyone watched the entire game, you would know it was not this close. Commanders scored garbage time points, really, at least the second touchdown. So, I mean, it's just like it was 17-3 going into the fourth, Vinny. 17-3, and the Packers could have had more points than that. They had several drives that stalled out because of a penalty or a missed throw, something like that, where they could have had 28 points going into the fourth quarter at this point. They could have been up 28-3, would have been up huge. And it ended up being a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, and I was freaking out because I'm like, okay, wait, why are the Commanders in this game? We've been dominating them all night long, and we let them claw their way back in. But thankfully, the Packers were able to go down, score a touchdown, and kind of seal the deal there. But stat-wise, Jordan Love, very good game, right? 19 of 31, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had 12 rushing yards, including he just lowered the shoulder and ran through a Commander defender.
You don't love that. You don't love that.
I didn't like to see it, but the thing is, he did it for a first down. And he got the first down in the red zone, and it led to us getting points. So, I don't like that it was his throwing shoulder that he lowered, because that is absolutely terrifying. Because he got absolutely slammed on his throwing shoulder twice. So I don't like that. But, it is what it is. He made the play happen. He's healthy. We survived it. And we move on. Josh Jacobs, 23 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Tucker Kraft, 6 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown. Huge breakout game for the tight end. I predicted that pretty well. I said the Commanders were going to come out and play a lot of man coverage. The receivers were going to struggle to get open. And it was going to be a huge tight end day, and that's exactly what happened. Romeo Doubs, he gets a touchdown early on in the game. One of the best releases in the game. It's very hard to keep up with him on the goal line. And Vinny, something interesting here. Matthew Golden, he could have had 2 massive touchdowns, right? Yeah. Early on in the first half, it was a 4th down. They went for it, and Love just underthrew him a little bit. Golden was wide open in the end zone. And then in the second half, he had a massive bomb to him. It would have been like an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And Love missed him by inches. Like, it was just out of his fingertips. And, at the time I'm watching, and I'm like, oh, come on, Love, you got to make that throw. But all things considered, I mean, you're asking him to put, I know that's what they're paid to do, but you're asking him to put the ball in a very specific spot on a deep throw. It's very tough to do, even for the best of the best. But obviously, would have liked to have that one back, I'm sure. For the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 24-42, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 17 rushing yards for him. And again, a lot of the passing volume and the touchdowns came in the fourth quarter when, the game was basically won by the Packers at that point. It was kind of just, they were just putting up points at the end of the game when they didn't really have a chance. The biggest thing here, only 51 combined rushing yards for the Commanders. Okay, the Packers have now held the Lions and the Commanders to under 100 rushing yards through 2 weeks, which is absolutely incredible. Zach Ertz, he had 6 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown, and then Debo had a touchdown as well. Terry McLaurin had 5 catches, but it really, again, that was later on in the game. Didn't do too much throughout the whole game. Well, basically, Vinny, this game was not close, right? It was 404 offensive yards for the Packers to just 230 offensive yards for the Commanders. Packers had 4 sacks. Parsons gets another half a sack, so he's up to 1.5 sacks now in the season. And Vinny, I don't know your thoughts, but the Packers truly do look like one of the teams to beat this year.
Yeah, there's one thing on the Packers' mind and the Packers fans' mind in 2025, and this happened really quick because this wasn't the impression going into the season until the big move to get, obviously, Micah Parsons. They are a Super Bowl or bust team in 2025. They looked like it in this game. They faced the Commanders. The Commanders were an NFC Championship team last year, and the Packers just absolutely owned them on their home turf. Defense has been the best in the NFL. There's no arguing that so far. Facing 2 really good offenses, 2 good quarterbacks, and they just completely shut them down. This game was a lot closer in the score than it actually was, and I have nothing else to say except the Packers look dominant, and they have a great matchup against Cleveland this week. They should go to 3-0, and I'm expecting big things this year. I'm sure you're happy to hear that from me.
I'm very happy to hear that from you. Last thing, not sure what the status is, but Jaden Daniels did suffer an MCL sprain in this game.
Yeah.
So his status is up in the air for next week. So just something to monitor there if you are a Commanders fan or have him in fantasy, which I do have him in a league, which kind of sucks. But hey, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's fantasy for you. We have a lot of QB injuries.
A lot of QB injuries, yeah.
That we're going to talk about, including a very bad one, probably the worst one here in this next game, which is going to be the Jags and the Bengals. 2 1-0 teams coming in, facing off in the jungle, as we mentioned. The 2 jungle cats going at it. And let's just put this out of the way first. Joe Burrow left the game in the second quarter, and he's going to be out very long term. 3 months with turf toe. Now, for those of you who don't know what turf toe is, and I really didn't know the specifics of it, it's a really bad injury, even though it doesn't sound too bad. It's basically like they describe it as like an ACL tear for your foot. It's like
your big toe, I think. Yeah.
The main like ligament that is used when you walk or run in your toe, your big toe, gets like torn or stretched. So it's very painful. It takes a while to recover. Joe Burrow, it's unfortunate that he's suffered so many injuries.
He got a bad version of it.
Yeah, he got a bad version of it. He's had so many injuries in his career. People are blaming the offensive line. People are saying that the entire Bengals front office should be thrown in jail. And it's just a disaster in Cincinnati. But with that being said, they did get a victory here in week 2, 31-27, in an absolute just barn burner, disgusting game. Okay, so the Bengals' backup quarterback is a guy by the name of Jake Browning. We've seen this before. Actually, we've seen this exact same thing in a game versus the Jags 2 years ago on a primetime game where Jake Browning had to come in and beat the Jags. So he's no stranger to beating the Jags. He had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 241 yards. How about Jamar Chase after a really bad week 1? I mean, 14 receptions for 165 yards and a touchdown. Ridiculous.
That's what you come to expect from him, right? Like last week, you were like, what's going on? But this week, this is what you expect.
You do expect that. And most of that is coming with Jake Browning at quarterback, which is, that's a positive thing because could be your reality going forward. We'll talk about what the Bengals could do in a second. On the other side of things, Trevor Lawrence, he threw 2 interceptions. So there were 5 total interceptions in this game. Just really ugly. He had 271 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. The ball was distributed a lot in the Jags offense here. Parker Washington and De'Ami Brown led the team with 5 receptions each. Brian Thomas Jr., a guy who we all expected to have a huge breakout campaign. He's had a bad start to the year, but he did have 12 targets. So not necessarily his fault. Trevor Lawrence couldn't get him the football in a accurate manner, we could call it. Here in the first 2 weeks.
Accurate. Love that. That's a great way to put it.
So he goes 4 for 49. Listen, first of all, if you're the Jags, this is a bad loss because you basically got handed a win on a silver platter when Joe Burrow went down. You're facing a backup QB who is not one of the better backup QBs in the NFL. Let's just put it that way. Jake Browning he has some experience, but I mean, he didn't play all of last year. Like it's, it should have been an easy win for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, he threw a lot of yards, didn't look great. But besides the point, the Bengals are 2-0. Many are saying that it's a pretty fraudulent 2-0, and I would agree with that.
I would agree.
Are they cooked going forward? What are they going to do, in your opinion, at the quarterback position?
Well, they just signed Mike White and who is the other guy?
Oh, boy.
They just signed two guys. Where is it? I don't remember the other guy. They just I don't have it here. I don't know what it was, but they just signed Mike White and another quarterback. So they're going to be giving guys some shots here. They're going to be trying out a couple guys. And my first thought was they're going to make a trade for a guy like Kirk Cousins or a guy even like Malik Willis, who maybe he's a little more valuable behind a bad offensive line because he can move around, unlike Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't throw the season away, right? Like you're 2-0, fraudulent or not. You're 2-0. You still have all the talent in the world from Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, right? Trey Hendrickson on the defensive line. Like, there's still talent there. You have a chance to go make something happen. And, I mean, you lose Joe Burrow. That is obviously terrible. But if you make a deep playoff run, there's a chance he could return.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you get to the playoffs, there's a chance he could say, you know what? I could come back from it right now. You know, and obviously you don't want him to rush it. But in 2.5 months from now, right, it's going to be feeling a whole lot better than it is right now. So... I mean, you just gotta put a Band-Aid on it. You gotta make sure the bleeding isn't too bad.
I like that.
Get to the playoffs.
You're gonna need some gauze, like some wrap, like around your arm, like.
Yeah, you're gonna need a lot. But you know, a Kirk Cousins trade or a Malik Willis trade, I think that gets you where you want to go.
I have an idea.
What's your idea?
There is a guy who could come into this Bengals offense, and it's a guaranteed 500 yards passing per game. Jameis Winston.
I mean, that's
he might
another
turn
one.
He's going to turn the ball over 4 times a game at least.
So that's Jake Browning. That's what Jake Browning does.
Exactly. But I like Jameis Winston more.
Oh, yeah.
Please do that. That would be so much fun. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins fantasy managers would not have to panic because they would be golden. They might even be better.
Yeah, they might be better because you're getting 55 pass attempts a game.
Chase Brown, maybe not. But, yeah, that's the Bengals and the Jags there. It's very interesting football game with a lot of storylines. Maybe the Bengals will make a move this week or soon. It's kind of interesting to see what happens there. But, Connor, the next 3 games we're going to talk about were all blowouts.
Yeah, we
and
can move
boring.
through these pretty
so
quick.
We're going to fly through these. Starting off with the Bills and the New York Jets. AFC East matchup, the Bills took care of business. This is a business trip for the Buffalo Bills. They win it 30-10. Strictly business. Josh Allen, I mean, didn't have to do much in this game. 148 yards through the air, 59 rushing yards. Very typical game there. James Cook carried on the ground. A guy who I told all of you to draft in fantasy this year. He has done a very good job so far. 132 yards and 2 touchdowns on 21 attempts. The leading Buffalo receiver only had 47 yards. That was Joshua Palmer. Ball was very evenly distributed, and they really just coasted to a win here. They didn't have to do anything special. On the Jets side of things, Justin Fields did leave the game, I believe, with a concussion. So he was, and I didn't even realize this happened because they were showing this game so little because nothing was happening. So Justin Fields goes out, Tyrod Taylor comes in, and they only threw 54 yards combined in this game, the two of them. They went 10 for 22. So very bad performance for the Jets quarterbacks there. Garrett Wilson, he had 50 of those yards, 4 for 50.
Yep.
So really ugly game for the Jets. We were talking last week, are the Jets here? They looked really good. Are they going to be able to compete? They almost beat the Steelers, blah, blah, blah. They face the Bills. They get destroyed.
Yep. I mean, that's what we expected, right? They were going to come back down to earth. We said maybe they had a chance to be good, but really, in the back of our minds, we were all thinking it. They're not going to be able to compete with the Bills. And that's what we saw. And, you said Josh Allen didn't have to do too much. One thing he did have to do was get his nose popped back into place after he dislocated or broke it mid-game. He ran off to the sideline. All the announcers were like, whoa, what's going on? Josh Allen running off the field. He took his helmet off on the field. He's running off, leaning over. I think there's some blood coming out. And they popped it right back in, right on the sideline. He went back out there. So, true fighter right there. Love to see that from Josh Allen, even in a blowout when they didn't even need him. But that's just the heart you get right there. That's a leader. That's a guy you want at the helm for a football team.
Hey, we saw Mitch Trubisky in this game. Shout out Mitch Trubisky. Bears legend. Okay, so Bills win. Move on.
Yep, we move on to another crazy blowout. All right, this one is even worse than the last one. The Bears and the Lions, both 0-1 going into this game. So the NFC North last place battle here. Lions ended up winning 52. Lions ended up winning 52-21. You know what the Lions tend to do. They just don't hold back on their teams. Jared Goff, 23 of 28 for 334 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is an incredible stat line. 23 completions for 330 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, this is what we saw from him last year. Just ridiculously accurate. Did not throw a lot of incompletions. A ton of touchdowns. When you talk about the running game, Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries for 94 yards, a touchdown. David Montgomery, 11 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown. The big thing here was Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 9 catches for 115 yards and caught all 3 of Jared Goff's touchdown, or 3 out of the 5. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. 3 of the 5 touchdowns from Jared Goff in this game. Jameson Williams got 1 as well. For the Bears, I mean, it's just the bad news Bears, man. They are absolutely terrible. Caleb Williams, 19 of 30, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Both touchdowns went to Rome Odunze, who had 7 catches for 128 yards. DeAndre Swift picked up a touchdown on the ground as well. But really, I mean, the Bears are just not good, right? I mean, Caleb Williams needs to figure it out. The offensive line needs to figure it out. They lost Jalen Johnson in this game on defense. I mean, they're just in shambles right now, and I don't see a way that they get out of this. After this start to the year, I really have extremely low expectations, maybe even lower than I had going into the season for this team. And yeah, I mean, Lions, still one of the best offenses in the NFL. Did not hold back against Ben Johnson, who, was a coordinator there for the Lions last year. In the post-game interview, he was asked if he was annoyed that Dan Campbell allegedly ran up the score, especially on that late 4th down and 4 where they went and converted to Amon-Ra for another touchdown. And Ben Johnson said, nope. That's what Dan Campbell does. He's not kicking a field goal there, so I think Ben Johnson took it well, at least on the outside. Maybe on the inside he was kicking and screaming, but especially after his comments where he's saying they were going to beat the Lions. I mean, dude, come on. Be realistic here. Your team is not on the same level as the Lions.
No. The Lions look good in this one. They looked like themselves again. But this was really the Bears just being awful at football, and I hate them. And,
the Bears look themselves too.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bears did look themselves. Shout out Rome Odunze, really good game for him. But that's about it on the Bears side of things. Hey, I mean, I guess the Lions wanted to prove that they weren't Ben Johnson merchants in this one, so they took it personally. They wanted to prove that they could put up a lot of points without him, and they did just that. I think all the players on offense, they heard the allegations that they were carried by their coordinator, and they took it personally. They went out there, and they were just mean in this game. They were running the score up, and it was quite enjoyable to watch. Because I'm out on the Bears, man. I'm out.
And I will say, I mean, this goes to prove even more that, this Packers defense is legit because the Lions still look like easily one of the best offenses in the NFL, and they were held to absolutely nothing last week. So
that is very true. So anyway, we can move on now to another blowout, another divisional game here. The Browns and the Ravens. Ravens win this one 41-17 in a very unconventional way for them, I will say. Derrick Henry, nowhere to be found in this one, okay? He had 23 yards. We're not going to talk about my frustrations and my rage attacks over the weekend because Derrick Henry is one of my fantasy players as well. Lamar Jackson, he did his thing, 225 yards, four passing touchdowns. 2 of them went to a guy by the name of Devontae Walker. Connor, Devontae Walker, not in my book.
Shout out that guy.
Not in my book before today, but he, he was there. He caught 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, a guy who I do know, he had 75 yards on 7 receptions. Mark Andrews, 2 yards on 1 catch. So good for Mark. At least he got some action.
Team.
Yep, he had some action in this game. Listen, the Browns, this game was somewhat close for a while, and then the Ravens just absolutely piled it on in the fourth quarter. They had 21 points in the fourth quarter. DeAndre Hopkins catching another touchdown. Shout out him. He is proving that he is still a player in the NFL.
No, he still got it.
He's still a player in the NFL. So, yeah, Ravens just spreading the ball around really nicely, getting the job done for the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco just missed out on that 200-yard mark, 199 yards, a touchdown and an interception. And, listen, we know the Ravens were going to bounce back this week after the tough loss. We all knew that. They were our lock of the week, so we are now 2-0 on locks of the week. So, we give really good advice. You should probably listen to us on that stuff. So, yeah, the Ravens take care of business. The Browns, I mean, at this point, when are we going to see a new starting quarterback? I'm not saying it's going to be like soon, but I do think it's going to happen at some point. So I want to hear your input on when we will see a new one for them.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we see Dylan Gabriel at the end of this game?
He threw a touchdown.
So
yes, he threw a touchdown.
So, I mean, that's something to think about, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting is they go to him instead of Shador, right, for the second team reps there at the end of the game.
Not surprising.
I think, I mean, they're just continuing to build that narrative that Shador is never going to play, which I think is going to change after Dylan Gabriel gets a start. I still think Shador is better than him, even though I'm an Oregon Duck. All right, I know. Still love you, Dylan Gabriel, but let's be realistic.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson is going to be back at practice soon. So that's another wrinkle to this whole thing, is he's going to be practicing.
Yeah.
So now, they got rid of Kenny Pickett, and now it's going to be, if Joe Flacco keeps playing like this, do they give it back to the guy they paid a bunch of money to?
Such a disaster in Cleveland.
I mean,
such a disaster.
I don't know. In my mind, you have to go with one of the youngsters if you're going to make a quarterback change.
Yeah,
but
100%.
I don't know. I mean, if they're in it at all, they might try Deshaun Watson for a week.
How do they not give it to Deshaun Watson if he's healthy? After all the money they paid him, how do they not?
Because he was so bad last year.
I know, but still, how do they not?
I know.
It's just a disaster. Cleveland, I don't know how you've gotten yourselves into this mess, but
nope. But they're in it for the long haul now. So
yeah, it's been an eternity for Cleveland, an eternal long haul. They've been in it forever.
Yep.
All right, please move on. I can't talk about this anymore.
So those are the big blowouts. This game wasn't necessarily a close one, but definitely closer than what we've been talking about. The Rams and the Titans. Rams 1-0, Titans 0-1. The Rams get the victory 33-19 in this game. Matthew Stafford, very, very solid performance. 23 of 33, 298 yards, almost hit that 300-yard mark. 2 passing touchdowns, did throw an interception as well. Kyren Williams had 66 rushing yards, and for the first time in what seems like forever, he did not score a rushing touchdown. Puka Nacua had 8 catches for 91 yards and a 45-yard rushing touchdown early on in this game, in the first quarter, really. And then Devontae Adams was kind of, he led the team in targets. He had 6 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. He had, I want to say, half of his targets came in the red zone. And they were actually in the end zone when he got targeted. It was ridiculous. I think there was one possession where first down, it was him. Second down, it was to him. Third down, it was to him. So he had 3 straight targets where he was standing in the end zone for all 3 of them, and he couldn't catch it. Luckily for me, I have him in fantasy. He got a touchdown later on in the game, but he's definitely the red zone target here in LA, which is good for fantasy managers. Cam Ward and the Titans. How about Cam Ward throwing his first touchdown pass in the NFL?
And a really good one, but
we'll get to that right now. It was offensive line protection kind of broke down. He scrambled out to his right. I would never advise. I mean, I'm not like a scout or a coach or anything, but I would never advise a quarterback to throw this ball across his body. In total, it was probably like a 40-yard throw. He was standing like the 25 across his body to the end zone on the opposite side of the field and finds Alec Iomanar, the rookie wide receiver here, who's turned into the wide receiver 2 in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. He actually had the most receptions in this game for the Titans. He had 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. Calvin Ridley, I still think, is going to be just fine in this team, but he led the team in yards, Calvin Ridley, but just didn't have as many catches.
Yeah. On
the ground, Tony Pollard had 20 carries for 92 yards. So a good day for him, but for all you fantasy managers out there, he didn't get in the end zone, didn't have much in the receiving game, so that kind of holds him back. And you got to remember, Tajay Spears coming back in just 2 weeks now, so definitely going to be something to monitor in that Tennessee backfield. So big things here. I mean, Cam Ward, shout out you for getting your first touchdown pass. That's good. Rams offense runs through Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. That's kind of going to be how this thing goes. Is they're going to hand it off, and if they don't, it's going to be either Puka or Devontae Adams. So you can take that as you will. Defenses, if you can figure out how to stop that, then go for it. But I don't think you will be able to. And then for Tennessee, Vinny, this is interesting. Their next 4 games, they have the Colts, the Texans, which are proving to be somewhat tough, and then they got Cardinals, Raiders. So maybe, we were saying after this week it gets a little bit easier, but maybe it doesn't get so easy with the way the Colts are playing than the Texans. But after that, I think it will get a little easier
in there, I think.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned it in the previews. I think the Titans are a team that have the ability to go out and win and upset teams that are clearly better than them, especially the divisional games. The Texans, they could totally beat. Let's be real. The Texans are a beatable team, and maybe the Colts will fall down to earth next week, which I really hope they do. It wasn't a bad showing for the Titans this week. They were just overmatched. Shout out Rams. They're one of the best teams in the NFC, in my opinion. Offense looked really good. And props to them for playing. They're playing a good defense, a good secondary too. So
yeah, 100%.
Convincing win for the Rams. They go to 2-0. There was a team that I saw that's been never mind. That was the Bucs. Okay, scratch that. I was gonna say there's a team that's been 2-0 like for the past 5 years, but that's the Bucs, not the Rams. So forget what I said. We'll talk about that later.
Let's talk about your favorite team here, Vinny.
Let's talk about my favorite team, shall we? The New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. For Patriots fans like myself, we all know that Hard Rock Stadium in Miami is a house of horrors for our team. We have not won there since a guy, a broadcaster, by the way, by the name of Tom Brady. Shout out. There was a YouTube channel I was watching this morning that made that exact joke. So it was like subconsciously in my head. I want to give them credit. But by the way, we haven't won in Miami since Tom Brady was our quarterback, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, you took the long route there.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you have to take the scenic route in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You have to. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on some beautiful things, man.
I just didn't want to plagiarize this YouTube channel that I realized I was stealing a joke from them. But I'll think of the name. So the Patriots win is what I'm trying to say. They win 33-27. The Dolphins' miserable start to their season continues. Drake May with a great game. 19 for 23, 230 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, welcome back. He led the team in rushing and receiving. He broke loose on a massive play. He looked like he needed to go to the hospital after because he was so out of breath. But no disrespect to the guy. He's been in the Patriots organization for quite a few years. I do like him. He had a great game. Yep. So good for him. On the Dolphins side of things, Tua. I mean, Tua did not have a bad game, okay? Actually, really, I thought he had a really good game. 26 for 32, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, but a game-losing interception, which is going to be the story here. That's what everyone's going to say. Throws another pick. He's been really bad with the turnovers. Tyreek Hill kind of looked like himself again, 109 yards, 6 catches. The main story in this game was Malik Washington with a punt return to take the lead for the Dolphins in the fourth quarter. Electric, places going crazy. And then the very next play, Antonio Gibson returns a kickoff for a touchdown to give the Patriots the lead back again.
That was absurd, man.
Just
that
an
was
insane sequence. Obviously, I was going nuts. Just part of a crazy like half hour from like 3:30 to 4 on Sunday, where just a lot of crap was going down.
A lot of crazy endings.
But
it's awesome.
Endings.
That's what you live for. That's what you watch Red Zone for. That's what you watch these games for, man.
I mean, Sunday from 3 to 4 o'clock should be the best time of your week as a football fan. Like that is where everything goes down at once. The Pats and Dolphins were no exception. For New England, they looked great. They showed fight, which is something we haven't shown in a while. You know, being down a lot in this game, in a back and forth game with Mike Vrabel, I think that could be accredited to the coaching a little bit there too, because we just didn't have that before. Yeah. Drake May looked great, and we made big plays on defense when we had to. We were able to stop the Dolphins, who we were never able to stop. So great win for the Pats. That's all I'm going to say about them. For the Dolphins, everyone's panicking in Miami. Mike McDaniel, everyone's saying he should be fired. He's
on the hot seat.
He's on the hot seat. He had another like really bad, awkward press conference. He is really bad in the press conferences, I will say, which is a big part of being a head coach in the NFL. The Dolphins' offense didn't look bad in this game. Okay, so I think that narrative needs to be thrown out the window. Defense was atrocious, as they were against the Colts. They faced the Bills on Thursday Night Football. It's looking like they have a good chance to be 0-3. If they are 0-3, are they out?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'd probably say if they – well, the thing is, like, if you lose to the Bills, like, you're not nearly as mad as you are about losing to the Patriots, right? Or –
yeah.
Why am I spacing? Who did play week 1? The Colts. Like, you're not nearly as mad as that. And I'd probably – you know what? I wouldn't say they're out at 0-3. I wouldn't say that. I would say if they're 0-4, you're out. And I'd say if you fall to 0-4, expect Tyreek Hill to be traded.
Yeah. Blow it up.
And then you're out. Like,
yeah.
So that's where I'm at with them. And I would say, Vinny, you know, for people who didn't watch this game, especially the ending, you know, they are inches away from taking the lead late there because Devon Achane had a touchdown.
Yep. And
he just barely stepped out of bounds on the sideline on his way to the end zone.
Forgot about that.
He was in. The Dolphins were inches away from a victory in this game, and I'm not saying that the Patriots couldn't have gone down and got a field goal to win, but there wasn't a lot of time left. If the Dolphins got in there, it was looking pretty good that they could hang on for a win. So, you know, it's not like they were very far off from being 1-1. They were inches off, Vinny. So,
yeah, it's dire times in Miami. Let's just say that. But this was a great win for my Pats, and I'm happy about it. I'm happy we can face the Dolphins in their time of despair and doom. So we both picked the Dolphins in this one. I picked against my team, which I don't do very often in these kind of close games, but I did. So maybe I'll do it more often, and the Pats will come out of the win. So anyway, Connor, take us to New Orleans for one of the greatest QB matchups of our generation.
I mean, Vinny, we're talking Mac Jones leading the San Francisco 49ers and Spencer Rattler leading the New Orleans Saints. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better quarterback matchup here. Mac Jones, like if you just look at the stats alone, he looked like he had a very good game. 26 of 39, 279 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. Now, I'll tell you this. All right, the stat line looks much better than how he actually did. He missed a ton of throws. It's Mac Jones, right? It's not going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, didn't turn the ball over, threw 3 passing touchdowns, and you get the win for the 49ers. 49ers win this game 26-21, and I mean, you can't ask for much more out of Mac Jones in this case. CMC does what he does best, right? He catches the ball a ton and he makes things happen. He had 6 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown, and then had 55 rushing yards on 13 carries. A lot of this, he kind of exploded late on in that game in the second half. Jawan Jennings, a guy who was questionable all the way up until the game, he actually comes out and he ends up being the leading receiver for this 49ers team. 5 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. And that was really it. Ricky Pearsall only had 4 catches. The tight ends didn't do too much. For the Saints, Spencer Rattler, 25 of 34, 207 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. So both of these quarterbacks throw 3 passing touchdowns, don't turn the ball over, Vinny. I would be shocked if these 2 quarterbacks ever met again if they did this exact same thing, because this is not something you can expect from these 2 guys. Alvin Kamara, 99 rushing yards, 21 receiving yards, so he goes over 100 total. Doesn't get in the end zone. That hurts his day for fantasy managers, but still a good game for him. Olave, 6 catches for 54 yards. Rashid Shaheed gets in the end zone, and then Jawan Johnson with just an incredible touchdown catch in the corner of the end zone. So, all in all, the Saints did not play bad against still what is a pretty good defense, all things considered, right? But if the 49ers, I mean, are they going to beat anybody else without Brock Purdy? Like, you're playing the Saints, you win by 5 points.
I think to say that they can't beat anybody else might be a little bit of a stretch. I think they're not going to beat many teams with the current roster they have. But, hey, this is a similar situation for the Bengals. They're 2-0. They clearly shouldn't be. And they have a lot of injury concerns and just a lot of concerns going forward. But if you're the 49ers, why give up on the season? You're a 2-0. You're winning, obviously leading
and Brock Purdy's going to be back quicker than Joe Burrow is.
Yeah, Brock Purdy will be back. And listen, Mac Jones he's a better backup than Jake Browning. I will say that.
100%. I agree.
Mac Jones is serviceable, especially having a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who I said this, I don't know if it was on the podcast or it was just to you. Christian McCaffrey is the best player that Mac Jones has ever had in an offense in his entire life, outside of college, obviously, in the NFL. So Mac Jones can win football games. He can keep the Niners competitive against some of the, lesser teams. I know they're playing the Cardinals next week. I think that's winnable for the 49ers. So, listen, good for them. They get the job done. And for the Saints, shout out Saints. They were supposed to be the worst team in football. They are 0-2, but I don't think they've been the worst team in football.
They haven't looked the worst team in football. No.
They've looked somewhat serviceable for a team with Spencer Rattler as your quarterback. So, offensively, not terrible. So we both do take the 49ers there, and we both get that one right. We'll have the pick'em standings at the end of the episode, by the way. So stay tuned for that if you are in our pick'em league. How about we move on to another pretty interesting game with a very interesting play at the end of this game. That being the Seahawks and the Steelers. The Seahawks with, I guess you could call it an upset in most people's eyes, going on the road here, winning 31-17. Sam Darnold, 22 for 33, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, throws 2 interceptions. And his wide receivers were getting the job done. JSN, 8 receptions, 103 yards. He is looking like a force in 2025 so far. Cooper Kupp, 7 receptions for 90 yards. He didn't do much in week 1. He was here in week 2 as the wide receiver 2 in Seattle. And then Kenneth Walker. So this was interesting. The backfield situation in Seattle, Zach Charbonnet still had more rushing attempts than Kenneth Walker. However, Kenneth Walker went 13 for 105. Zach Charbonnet went 15 for 10. So this is going to be something that for fantasy, I think you're going to have to be monitoring on a week-to-week basis because I think
It's going to be tough to predict.
Whoever has the hot hand, I think, is going to get the ball at this point. So don't be surprised if Kenneth Walker leads the backfield next week. If he doesn't do great, maybe it goes back to Charbonnet. They're both very good running backs. I think they're fine with a committee there in Seattle. Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers side of things, not a great day compared to last week. 203 yards, 2 picks, and a touchdown. And then when Jaylen Warren is leading the team in rushing and receiving, that's a problem.
Not a good sign.
Not great at all. But how about Caleb Johnson, the rookie running back for the Steelers, just not quite understanding the rule on a kickoff. So he gets the ball, he's set to receive in the landing zone. And did he make contact with the football?
I think it skimmed his finger. I think it skimmed his finger or his helmet.
Yeah, so he barely makes contact with the football. It's a live football. Doesn't go after it or anything. It goes into the end zone. The Seattle special teams is all over it. It's a touchdown. So a huge play in this game, just as free of a touchdown as you can give another team in the NFL. Just absolutely crazy circumstance there. So, I mean, it wasn't the only reason why the Steelers lost this game. Obviously, the offense in general didn't look great. And, I mean, Steelers defense, man. You did get 2 interceptions, but you gave up 31 points to Justin Fields and Sam Darnold in back-to-back weeks, dude.
It's not a good look.
It's a bad
for what's supposed
look.
to be one of the best defenses in the NFL.
For what's supposed to be one of the best in the NFL, they have just not looked great. So, you know what? I didn't write it on the notes here, but I'm gonna do it, man. VinCon concern meter for the Steelers going forward.
I mean, it's got to be a little bit higher than the Chiefs for me. I think I am more confident in the Chiefs than I always will be than the Steelers team. I mean, I came out and said this team could start the season 6-0. So
yeah.
And I thought this was a very winnable matchup for them. I know you're going on the road to Seattle, very tough environment, but
no, they were home. They were in Pittsburgh.
Were they?
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, it was at home. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was in Seattle.
So even worse. Even worse.
So even worse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this team a 4 because, I think the expectations are a little lower with the Steelers, so you can't be as concerned with a 1-1 start.
Yeah.
But all things considered, I definitely thought this was a winnable game for them, and they lost by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Some just costly mental errors, and the offense did not flow at all. Aaron Rodgers still made some ridiculous throws. There's some clips out there of him on the run, just putting the ball in places nobody else can put the ball. So he still has the ability. It's just going to be, can he limit the turnovers like we saw last week? And can he just make this offense? I mean, DK Metcalf did nothing this game, right? Like you have to get, like DK Metcalf cannot be a guy that has 3 or 4 catches every week, and
No.
you're not going to expect to win like that.
Not in this offense. You need him to take charge and be the number 1 guy.
And especially, I mean, if he's going to have 3 or 4 catches, it needs to be 3 or 4 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
Which we have not seen in either of these first 2 weeks. No. So they just got to figure it out. I think they're still gelling. They're still trying to, get that chemistry. But the season's here. We're 2 weeks in. You got to get it together soon.
Yeah, they definitely do. Also, shout out Tub Frog. That's the YouTube channel I was watching. He does a recap after every week, and he's really funny. So that's where I got that joke from subconsciously. Tub Frog, if you're watching this, I didn't mean to plagiarize you.
Tub Frog.
Great YouTube channel, by the way. Okay, we have 4 games left here. Take us to 4 o'clock window. Panthers and the Cardinals.
This was an ugly one. NFC South matchup. They're never pretty. Or no. Yeah.
Well, half NFC South, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Cardinals win the game 27-22. Right. Kyler Murray, 17 of 25, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So, it was funny because we were having our Jordan Love, Kyler Murray debate again. Yeah. And then Kyler Murray threw a terrible interception. And Vinny jokingly goes, okay, Jordan Love's better. But anyways.
Literally.
James Conner, 11 carries for 34 yards, 1 touchdown. Trey McBride, he does fine again, 6 catches for 78 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr., only 2 catches this week. Got to get that guy more involved. I will say, this was a very favorable game script for the Cardinals, so maybe that's why they didn't have to throw it as much. They were up 27-9 going into the 4th quarter. So that should tell you all you need to know. It was 27-9 going into the 4th quarter, and they only won 27-22, and the Panthers had a chance to win it late in the game. We'll get to that in a second. For the Panthers, Bryce Young, 55 pass attempts for Bryce Young. That is a ridiculous number for him. He only completed 35 of those for 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. A lot of that came late in the game. I mentioned it was 27-9 going into the fourth. So a lot of that came, in that fourth quarter where they put up all their points. Tedero McMillan had 6 catches for 100 yards. And then how about Hunter Renfrow, Vinny?
Yeah.
Shout out Hunter Renfrow for having 2 touchdown catches, 48 yards, 7 catches. Very good game for him. But yeah, I mean, the game should not have been close. I'll say it again. I think it's like the 5th time I'm saying it in the span of a minute. 27-9 going into the fourth quarter. The Panthers made it 27-22. Then they get an onside kick, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's a chance. A ton of penalties by the Cardinals. Panthers are at like the 30-yard line, just outside the red zone, and they just couldn't get it done. So unfortunately, the Panthers could not make the crazy comeback happen. Cardinals are able to move to 2-0. Panthers fall to 0-2. But all things considered, the game got interesting at the end, which is what you can ask. It's what you hope for, right? You don't want to see a ton of blowouts. A close game at the end is always way more interesting. But it kind of sucked that the Panthers did all that work, got an onside kick, and did absolutely nothing with it.
That's got to be the worst, man. When you get, because an onside kick recovery is one of like the rarest things that could happen.
Yep.
Especially when you get an onside kick and you could take the lead with a score. So to do nothing with that, it's just really upsetting.
Yep.
But listen, I mean, I don't have anything to add in this game. This is two like mediocre to bad football teams playing each other. Weird stuff's gonna happen. Shout out Ted McMillan, by the way. Definitely looking like the wide receiver one. I know Hunter Renfrow had the 2 touchdowns there, but Ted McMillan's gonna be a really good player in this league. But yeah, Cardinals still not really sold on them. They're 2-0. There is some fraudulent 2-0 teams, man. There really is. Bengals, Niners, Cardinals, those teams should all not be 2-0 at this point. But, yeah, just upsetting. I did take the Panthers in this one, so I was kind of excited that I thought they were going to come back and win. They could not do that. But we go to one bad game to another bad game. That wasn't supposed to be a bad game, but it ended up being horrible.
This had shootout potential written all over it.
Oh, yeah.
I was hoping it was going to be that way, and it was not. It was the exact opposite. It's the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings. Contender for worst game of the year, honestly. There was one touchdown in the game, and it was a super late touchdown by Tyler Algier that they didn't even need. Falcons win 22-6. Michael Penix Jr., 13 of 21, 135 yards. I mean, that's terrible. Bijan Robinson, 22 carries for 143 yards. And Tyler Algier had 16 carries for 76 yards in that late touchdown. So the story of this game was the Vikings could not stop the run. And maybe part of that is because linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel did not play. One of their key defensive players, he was out. So, stopping the run becomes a lot harder when you think about that. But still, to allow that many rushing yards, I mean, Tyler Algier, he's great and all, but you just allowed him 76 rushing yards, and he's a backup, right?
No, he's not.
I don't like this
1B. RB1B.
I don't like the 1B talk. He's there for short yardage, but I mean, Bijan's clearly one.
He had 16 carries.
Because
16!
because Bijan had 22. They're not going to give Bijan 35 carries.
Bijan said himself that Algier is 1B. That's what he said.
That's a teammate.
RB1B, man. Just watch out for it.
1A and 1B means the running backs are very similar in talent. And I don't think Tyler Algier is anywhere close to as good as Bijan Robinson.
I'm totally joking, but that was a joke I was making during that game because a few people in our watch party were upset that Bijan was not on the field.
I wasn't one of them, so don't let him fool you. I was not the one mad about that, but I don't have him in fantasy, so I didn't care. But
names.
Anyways, let's go over to the and Drake London did absolutely nothing, by the way. So I was a little more mad about that. He had 3 catches. Anyways, let's go to the Vikings, all right? And this interesting story, whatever, terrible game. J.J. McCarthy, 11 for 21, 158 yards, 2 interceptions. All right, we're going to come back to him in a second here. Justin Jefferson, 3 catches for 81 yards. One of those was like a chunk play at the end of the game, really saved his day. He would have had 2 catches for absolutely nothing if he didn't get that last one. Jordan Mason had 9 carries. Aaron Jones had 5 carries. So that split will continue to be a development. Yeah. They combined for 53 rushing yards. But really, it was a terrible game script. They didn't have the chance to establish the run. They had to throw the ball a ton, and they didn't even throw it a ton. You threw the ball 21 times, and you were down the entire game. It doesn't really make much sense. They just couldn't get first downs, really. They could not move the ball down the field at all. That's partially why they didn't have that many offensive snaps. Falcons had 6 sacks in this game. The offensive line for the Vikings could not hold up. Christian Darrisaw, who we announced as probably going to be playing in this game, ended up not playing, even though he was a full participant in practice on Wednesday, and then I think on Thursday as well, and then something that just changed going into the weekend. So that was a big loss for them. Sorry that we kind of gave you false information there, but that's what we had at the time. J.J. McCarthy also suffered a high ankle sprain, so he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. They might hold him out till after the bye, which is in week 6, which means he could be out the next 5 weeks. Which, take it as you will. Maybe this is going to be good for the Vikings. Carson Wentz is going to be starting. Maybe they can make something happen with him. Maybe he's going to be a little more of a veteran guy who can come in and knows the system maybe a little bit better. But they just traded for him, so he's new. He's newer to the system than J.J. McCarthy. So it's going to be interesting to see. Definitely need to get this offense on the right page, though. So something I wanted to show here, Vinny, is J.J. McCarthy's throw chart, his pass chart, right, from this Week 2 game. Now, coming out of college at Michigan, the big concern for him was that he tended to only throw the ball to the right side of the field. And, of course, you're going to have to throw the ball to the left side sometimes, but he favored throwing it to his right. And that's just what he did. He did it a ton. It was a big knock on him in the draft. A lot of people were worried about that. People said, okay, he'll figure that out in the NFL. He's not going to do that. In Week 1, we kind of saw that. He was all right, threw the ball at least a decent amount to the left side of the field, still favored the right, but it wasn't terrible. But you look at Week 2 here. I'm going to pull this up right now. All right, look at this. So at the bottom, you can see the key, right? Green is completions, red is interception, white is incomplete. Don't worry about the touchdown one because he didn't throw a touchdown. The left side of the field, right? We can count it. We have 3 incompletions and 2 completions. So he had 5 total pass attempts to the left side of the field. And 21 pass attempts. He has 16 to the right side of the field. Right? That is, he's going back to his tendencies, a bad tendency, because all that means is defensive coordinators, if they're smart, right, which a lot of them are, they're going to look at this and they're going to say, all right, you know what? Let's just let him throw the ball to the left side of the field because he doesn't like doing it. He's not as accurate doing it. And he wants to throw to the right. So we're going to load up on the right and force him to throw where he doesn't want to throw it. So until J.J. McCarthy can prove that he can throw the ball to the left side of the field, I think he's going to have a very tough time against defenses. I think they're going to be able to scheme for him very well, and they're going to make his life in this league very difficult when he comes back from injury because now he's got to deal with that too. So definitely something to monitor for J.J. McCarthy and for this Vikings football team. Of course, it's only his first year starting in the NFL. But they drafted this guy to go out there and be the starter, and right now he's not looking like a guy who's going to be a franchise quarterback.
No, very well said, Connor. But listen, it's only been 2 weeks. He's only had 2 weeks in the league, and I went out and said right away that I don't expect J.J. McCarthy to be able to produce at a high level this early on in his career because when you spend almost 2 full calendar years without playing an impactful football game and being on the sideline. I know that allows him to learn and develop, but you learn by doing, right? Yep. And I think it is going to take a while. I think he does have a lot of potential, especially in this Vikings offense that has the playmakers, all the playmakers you could ever want. But I think it's going to take a while for McCarthy. It sucks that now he's hurt and is going to have to wait a little longer. But long story short, this game was an absolute snooze fest. The most exciting thing to happen in this game was Mike Tirico telling us that Bijan Robinson's name is Bijan, not Bijan. We thought it was Bijan. He wants to go by Bijan now. So we can finally get that settled. Bijan Robinson is his name. And
Bijan is his name, but he wants to go by Bijan.
Right. Okay. Bijan.
Bijan.
Like
how
Bijan
we've been
mustard.
Calling him for the last 2 years.
Bijan mustard.
Love that. Honey Bijan.
There we go. Okay. We had differing picks in this one, by the way. I believe that the Falcons were a better team. They definitely looked like it, even though they didn't look totally good that either. But so I took the Falcons there. You take the Vikings. We just have the Monday night doubleheader to talk about, Connor, and it was an interesting one at that.
It was so I didn't get to see the start of this first Monday Night Football game, so Vinny might be able to talk about it a little bit better. But it was 20-4, or it was 14-10 at the end of the first quarter. Right, There were fireworks early on. Nico Collins had a nice touchdown catch, and Igbuka had a touchdown catch. Right, the offenses were rolling a little bit, and then when I got back and started watching the game, apparently they didn't want to score any more points.
No.
Maybe I was bad luck or something, but the entire vibe of the game completely shifted to a defensive battle. The game ended 20-19 in favor of the Buccaneers, which means, the Bucs and Texans combined for only 13 points the rest of the game.
Yeah.
After starting with 24 in the first quarter, right, which is not ideal at all. Baker Mayfield, 25 of 38, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. And maybe the most important play of this game for him was a 4th and 10 rush that he had late in the fourth quarter to keep this team alive and go down the field and be able to take the go-ahead score. And then for the Texans, C.J. Stroud, this quarterback battle we thought would be exciting, high scoring, a lot of throws, a lot of passing yards, and it really wasn't that. C.J. Stroud only had 207 passing yards on 24 attempts, only 13 completions, did have a touchdown as well. For the running backs, for the Bucs, Bucky Irving, 17 for 71 yards, 6 catches for 50 yards, so he was very good, right? His overall yardage is over 100 yards, which we kind of expect from him now. He's kind of has that dual threat ability. And Rachaad White had a very good game rushing as well, 65 rushing yards, and got the late touchdown to give the Bucs the lead with like 7 seconds left in the game. So that was kind of the big thing for the Bucs, is that they had the run game. The Texans didn't, and they did get a Nick Chubb touchdown late, but for the most part, a lot of the pressure was on C.J. Stroud in that pass attack, and they really just couldn't get anything going. Nico Collins, only 3 catches for 52 yards and the touchdown, which was a 29-yard touchdown. So just not a good day for him. He continues to have a slow start to the season. Mike Evans and Igbuka for the Bucs. I mean, decent games, I guess. Evans 5 for 56, similar to what he did a week ago. And then Igbuka also pretty similar to what he did a week ago. He had 4 catches, 29 yards, and a touchdown. So all in all, very underwhelming, disappointing game offensively.
Yeah.
And this isn't a game that you come out and expect to be 20-19. You kind of expect these offenses to be able to take some shots at each other. And the Bucs win it. It's a Monday Night Football game. It was a weird start, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern as opposed to our usual 8:20. Maybe that had something to do with it, but I don't think so. I think these teams just really stalled out, couldn't get anything going. And one other note, Vinny, Bucs defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey, we saw him walk out during the game. He's going to be out for the season with a torn pec, so that's a big loss for this Bucs team, this Bucs interior, their pass rush, their run-stopping ability. He's a big player for him, so something to monitor going forward. But yeah, Bucs win in similar fashion to how they won last week. Close game. Texans had a chance late to take the lead. They just couldn't do it. What are your thoughts on this Monday Night Football game?
So if you only watch the first 5 minutes and then the last 5 minutes of this game, you would think this is the best game of all time. But everything in between was just a punt fest. There was nothing happening. C.J. Stroud has just been so underwhelming every single game after his rookie year. It sucks to see because he was so fun. And listen, he had a great ball to Nico Collins on the first drive. You were like, okay, maybe they can get something going here against the Bucs. Nope, nothing after that.
Nothing. And
I mean, Nico Collins, only 3 receptions is really disappointing. He was supposed to be
9 targets.
9 targets. Yeah, I mean, is that on Stroud? Is that on Collins? We have to look back and see. I'm sure it's a little bit of both, but really underwhelming there. And as for the Bucs, it wasn't their best game offensively. They got off to a slow start last week against the Falcons, got off to another slow start here, but it just goes to show you Baker just has that dog in him. Like you said, that rushing touchdown to keep the game alive on 4th down, or the rushing play to keep the game alive on 4th down. He's not a running quarterback by any means. No. We all know that, but he is not afraid to escape the pocket and use his legs when he has to. He makes some great throws on the run. He can run for a first down, and he's just I think he's one of the most mentally tough quarterbacks in the NFL. Love watching him play. And I mean, I do want to give a shout out to the Texans on the defensive side of the ball for playing a really good game, as they did last week as well in the loss. I mean, they have so many great playmakers. Derek Stingley Jr. might be the best cornerback in the NFL. He played great on Mike Evans. Mike Evans has faced A.J. Terrell and Stingley the first 2 weeks. So not great
Very
matchups
tough.
for him.
Yeah.
It's a good win for the Bucs. Again, a win's a win, even though they didn't look the best. But I think they're going to take this and move on. As for the Texans, I mean, you got to ask it. Concern meter.
I'd say I'm more nervous. I'm gonna give them a 5. 2 tough matchups, but C.J. Stroud's got to look better for me to not be worried about this team. He just has to look better. He's supposed to be the guy for them. And after coming off of a sophomore slump last year, I thought he was going to bounce back this year, and we haven't seen it yet. And I know 2 tough defenses you face. But I expect more out of C.J. Stroud, and so I'm gonna give them a 5. I'm most concerned about this team right now. And I will say one last thing. You mentioned A.J. Terrell. I know he wasn't in this game. He was in the Sunday night game, but he suffered a hamstring injury in that game against the Vikings. So we'll see what his status is going forward, because that's obviously, you mentioned a very good corner. That's a big piece of their defense. So if he's hurt going forward, that's going to be a big blow to the Falcons team. But anyways, back to this one.
100%. I just had a thought, and then I completely forgot it.
That's my fault for interrupting you with
no,
AJ
that's
Terrell
okay.
nonsense.
That's okay. I was going to say, I think the Texans, we both had them winning the AFC South simply for the reason that the other teams are just bad.
Yeah.
And now that the Colts, and I don't want to overreact, but now that the Colts look as good as they do, we'll see if they can continue that. I don't have a ton of faith that they will, but if they do, then the Texans may be looking at missing the playoffs this year, especially if they continue to play like this. But let's very quickly, and I mean very quickly, move on to our final game of the week here. A 10 p.m. Eastern time start for the Chargers and Raiders on Monday night. First of all, Monday night doubleheader, I've never been a fan of it because they either do it where the two games happen kind of not at the exact same time, but it's like one at 7, one at 8. I don't really love that because I want to just watch one game and focus on one game, usually in prime time.
Especially on Monday night.
Especially on Monday. Monday is usually my favorite night a week to watch football. It's like the grand finale of the week. It's usually a really good matchup. I don't like the two games. So I was kind of happy that they were one after the other, but if you're going to have a game like the Chargers and Raiders, you're not going to have any East Coast fans wanting to stay up and watch this thing, man.
No.
Especially when it's as bad as it was. Okay, the Chargers won 20-9. Justin Herbert, another really, really good game. 242 yards, 2 touchdowns. He led the team in rushing. I feel like we've said that about a few quarterbacks, leading their team in rushing with only 31 yards. So the Chargers' run game, not very good in this one at all.
Abysmal.
But you do have a guy by the name of Max Crosby on the other side, so that's probably has something to do with it there. Geno Smith, I mean, after throwing for almost 400 yards against the Patriots, this is night and day. 180 yards, 3 interceptions, including one on the very first play of the game, which was off a deflection, just a really bad throw, bad play, bad way to start if you're Vegas there. There were no standout receivers in this game on either side. I mean, Quentin Johnston, he had a touchdown, 71 yards. He caught a bomb from Herbert again, so good to see there. Ladd McConkey leads the team with 5 receptions, only had 48 yards. And then on the Raiders side of things, Jacoby Myers again leads the team, 6 receptions for 68 yards. Jacoby Myers is becoming kind of a pretty safe volume guy.
Yeah.
At least
he's kind of the alpha in
2 weeks.
In that team.
I mean, good to see. Former Patriot. I do like to see that. But all in all, Connor, I don't know if you have any takeaways from this game. The Chargers were the better team. They dominated, even though it was only an 11-point game. They outplayed the Raiders. And yeah.
Yeah. I actually stayed up for this game because I had some fantasy implications, and it was getting close down at the end of the game. And the Chargers tried to let the Raiders back into this game. There was a couple sequences where the Chargers did nothing, right? Gave the ball to the Raiders. Raiders had a chance. And, Geno Smith throws a pick. And then they punt the ball away. Chargers give it right back to them. And the Raiders can't do anything with it again. They punt it back. They get it back again, and they can't do anything. And it's just this endless cycle where the Raiders defense was doing everything they possibly could to give this Raiders offense a chance, and Geno Smith in this offense just could not do anything at all. And I know if I'm Max Crosby, I'm absolutely furious because the amount of work that defense was putting in was crazy. And the Chargers offense or the Raiders offense just did not hold up their end of the bargain, man. You got to reward your defense with points. If they're going to go out there and get you stops and get you the ball back, you got to go and get some points on the board, make the game close so they have a reason to go back out there and make another stop. And they just couldn't do it. Chargers ended up running the clock out, taking some knees, and victory formation for the Chargers.
Yeah, it was a snooze fest in my opinion. I didn't make it through the whole game. I after the Chargers got a stop in the fourth quarter, they were up 20-9. I went to bed. But it did end up going on for quite a lot longer after that because I know you texted me almost 1 a.m. And I was just...
I did indeed do that.
I was just not even awake at that point. But regardless, we both take the Chargers there. Speaking of our picks, before we sign off the episode today, we want to update you on what's going on in the VinCon Pick'em. So for Connor and I, we both again have pretty good weeks. Not as good as last week, but I do win. I go 12-4 once again. We did have a few differing picks. We know the Eagles and Chiefs, the Panthers, Cardinals, the Falcons, and Vikings. I think were the three. I got two of those right, so that ended up being the difference. But shout out to three gentlemen by the name of Ryan McCarthy, Ben Pinu, and Jack Litz, each going 14-2 this week, winning the week, which is really good on them. So 14-2 is a great week. In terms of the overall standings through 2 weeks, we got Jack Litz, Ben Pinu, Connor Swanson. You guys know him. They're all tied for first place with a record of 25-7. And then we got Ryan McCarthy, Jared Fitzgerald, Josh Costell, and myself in second place, 24-8. So pretty tight atop the standings there at the VinCon Pick'em. Connor, you're as a member in first place yourself. Do you have any thoughts? Any post-game speech for week 2?
I'm very disappointed with my performance in week number 2. A couple games that I thought the Chiefs could get a win. I thought that was going to be a big separator because a lot of people were high on the Eagles, and the game was close. I wasn't far off from getting that pick correct. Vikings. I mean, I know the schedule ahead is easier for them, but I really don't ever want to pick them again. I mean, that was just so hard to watch.
Yeah.
But they're facing the Bengals next week. It's going to be Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. I mean, what in the world am I going to do with that game? I have no idea. But we'll get to that when we have to. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So. Overall, not a bad week still. I'm 11-5 on the week. 14-2 last week definitely helped me, kept me up there in that top group. But got to put our heads down and work harder next week to get back into individual first place.
Absolutely. If anyone in our pool, it is Tuesday, so you have some time. But make sure before the Thursday night game, the Dolphins and the Bills, you at least make your pick for that game, and then make sure you have all of your other picks in by Sunday, because if you do happen to miss one full week of games, you have no chance in catching up, unfortunately, because if you pick every single game, you're just going to be better. So make sure you do that. We emphasize that so it can be competitive and fun throughout the entire season. So don't forget to do that. That's going to wrap up week number 2, Connor. Definitely an interesting week, an exciting week. A lot of fun finishes and interesting storylines, a lot of injuries, unfortunately. But we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Packers play the Browns in week 3. Are we going 3-0?
3-0. I mean, I think this team can start out very strong. I mean, we play the Eagles in week 8, I think, if I remember correctly.
First loss.
I mean, up until that point, I think we could be pretty easy sailing here. So we'll see.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Packers going to the Super Bowl. I think that's what we come away from this episode. Something else you should take away from this episode is if you enjoyed it, you should go and follow us on everything. Instagram.
Like the video, subscribe.
Like it. Subscribe. YouTube, Spotify. If you're on those, please hit the subscribe button if you want to get notified when we drop new episodes. It's always every Tuesday for the recap previews, the picks episodes, Thursday or Friday, depending on what works better for us. But it's going to be Thursday or Friday. So we'll stay tuned for more information on that. So anyway, we appreciate everyone who listened to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will talk to you again soon.